Hello, good day, everyone. Welcome to our Biz Launch webinar on what to do when you have a fabulous business idea. Welcome. It is my pleasure to be here with you this morning, right after President's Day. This is a workshop that was inspired by my colleague, Lourdes Morales, and one that I think is really good. A lot of times we talk about starting a business and what you need to do in order to start. Well, what happens if you have multiple business ideas? You're thinking about different things and they're coming at you right and left. How do you whittle it down to the one so that you can execute it and to start to develop your business plan? And this is the brainchild behind this workshop. And we're very, very excited to have you with us today as we talk. We have, both Lourdes and I, several years experience in working with entrepreneurs, our folks that are launching ideas and doing different things. I've been doing this for the last 16 years, and there's several things that we see when we know somebody that has a great idea. You know, you do something long enough, you know those ideas that are going to go far, and then there's some ideas that you hear and you're like, I don't know, there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of policy. So we're really happy to be here. As I've alluded to, my name is Tara Palacios. I founded Biz Launch about 16 years ago, and it has been a wonderful journey to help people to live their dreams and to launch their businesses. So I can tell you right now, I've seen it all. We've seen all kinds of fabulous ideas. We've seen ideas just go forth and multiply, and people hire people. Some folks have gone national. We've had other ideas that are just, they're growing at a steady pace. And then we have folks that have ideas that just like, maybe it's not launchable. Maybe I can't execute that idea. And you know what? Because they haven't lost money, we still think it's successful. Because if you don't, lose money on an endeavor, that's a very good thing. Because a lot of people will lose money. And so we're going to talk today about how you go about thinking about that idea. What are some of the things that you need to put forth to that idea to make sure that it's feasible and to make sure that it makes sense? My background, I've been in the private sector for many years, working with businesses to help them launch their own ideas. And now I have the pleasure of working for Arlington County to help others launch theirs. And it is a beautiful journey that we have. I try to be on social media as much as possible at AED Biz Launch or my own personal handle, Tara Palacios. So feel free, if you have questions as we go throughout. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So definitely keep in touch, and we're so grateful that you joined us for the webinar today. Some things to keep in mind. My colleague Janine Finch is on the line with us. Everybody's in listen-only mode right now, but if you have any questions, Janine is with you throughout the entire time. You can raise your hand and type your question, and she'll try to answer them. We will be taking all of your burning questions at the end. So I want you, as you're going through this, to think about questions that you may have. Some good things to note are that I have the PowerPoint presentation is available on the website here on GoToWebinar, so you can download it at a later time. We're also taping the webinar, so we'll have it for you available in the future on our website. So keep those things in mind. We're also going to be polling you all as we go through as well, so feel free, if you're able, to join in on our polls. We're going to try to use this technology to the best of our availability. If we aren't able to get to a question to you today, know that we are here for you, and we will answer your questions as much as possible. So now let us launch into what do you do when you have a fabulous business idea. First things first, this is our agenda. We're going to talk about all your amazing ideas that you have, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the different steps that you need to take as you narrow that idea in order to be able to launch it as a business. And at the end, as I alluded to earlier, there's going to be a Q&A, so you'll be able to ask your questions. But feel free, if we don't get to those today, we will get to them later on. So to start off, you're feeling pretty good, you're feeling really happy, you've got ideas, and it is amazing. It is a very, very great place to be. You're feeling excited, you have passion, you want to take this idea and you want to make it, mold it into something, and then as you go through and you try to do it and you try to put pen to paper, it becomes complicated. It does. And one of our very first poll questions that we have for you guys today is, first, do you have a fabulous business idea? I'm going to launch that out to everybody and see what you all say as we're going through these first few slides. I'm very curious to see if you all are sitting on some burning ideas. Were you feeling as excited in that first slide as you do now? Are you in this kind of phase where you have all these ideas, but you're wanting to know how to put pen to paper? There's a lot of balled up papers and you're thinking, and as you're going through, you're inventing the light bulb. What do you do with that idea? And I'm here to say that, as we go through, it can kind of feel a little like this, a little sad, a little kind of like, I've got my idea, but now what? Where do I go? What do I do? And how do I do it? And I think I'm here to say that that's a very, very normal place to be. And I want you to feel okay to feel sad, but we're not going to feel sad for long because we're here to help you to execute that idea. And I see that from everybody that's participating, I'm looking at our responses, and 67% of you have so many ideas. And I agree, a lot of ideas are good, and it's got the brain and it's got the juice, but I want to move you from there into how you execute. So I think we're spot on, which leads me to one other poll that I want to take for everybody. Since you have that fabulous idea, I'm going to launch this next one about, do you know where to start? Because I'm curious to see where you are in the pendulum as you go about to figure out what you do. Is it that there's so many ideas? How do you execute? Is it that you just feel like you're stuck? And how can we get you to that next position? Well, I'm here to say our very, very, very first step is to say that everybody needs to get organized first. Does your desk look like this? Everything is in its proper place. You have motivational things like a nice, fresh set of flowers. You've got your laptop, your notepad, your lights so that you can see. I really, really do believe when you have a lot of ideas, when you have a lot of things that are percolating and that are boiling around in your brain, one of the things that you need to do is get rid of the clutter. Get rid of all that excess. Take a deep breath, exhale really long and deep, and get organized. Get yourself to the position where all the clutter is gone. Because what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set up shop so that everything is very clear, everything is in this place. You've got your cup of joe if you need it. You have all the research, you have the equipment that you need, whatever type of technology, whether it's your phone, your laptop, your computer, your desktop, your lighting, your ergonomically correct chair. Whatever it is to motivate you, have that all organized and in place. Because if you're clutter-free, you can think through an idea even clearer. Things come to you in such a way. If there's a lot of balled up notes and things are unorganized and you don't have a system in place to be able to write down your ideas very cogently, very logically, then the ideas are still, you're going to be scattered. You're going to be all over the place. So this is something very simple that you can do that will help you. My next few bullets, take notes, calendar system, list of resources, and understanding your personal financial statement. I'm going to break those down into different slides. So I want to say to you, in taking notes, please do. Write it down. If you're meeting with a mentor, if you're talking to somebody and they are giving you great advice, write it down. Whether you write it on your cell phone, whether you write it, I'm kind of old-fashioned sometimes, and I know what motivates me. I write everything down because it helps me to remember when I go back. I might not just be taking it, but what did that mentor say to me? What did that person say about this regulation? What did my attorney tell me? And to design a system of your notes, whether it's on your laptop and you're using Word or you're using Excel and you date the items and what people have said, and to have hyperlinks to websites which can immediately take that idea or thought that you have, and it starts to really, it's putting pen to paper. You're doing research, you're getting information, take notes. If you go to a meeting and you don't have a pen, that's my first sign that there might be trouble in this here water. There might be some issues. You got to think about it. You want to be able to make sure that you capture everything and whatever feels comfortable. If a laptop or a phone is a distraction because a friend is texting you or something else is going for it, don't do that. Do the old-fashioned paper so that you can concentrate on what the individual is telling you. I encourage you, please take notes. This is very, very important. Also, I strongly believe in calendaring systems. Would you believe I have 4? I have 4. I have my personal calendaring system, and I literally have 3 other calendars in my office, electronic and paper, because I want to be able to write down all of my milestones for my idea. As I'm formulating that idea, and I know that there are different steps that we're going to go through that we need to do, then you need to make sure that I'm going to stand up a little bit for this one. On this calendar, okay, today is February the 20th. It's the day after President's Day. I want to execute or launch or begin to study my idea in July. And I look throughout June, throughout May, throughout April, throughout March, and I look at how many weeks are in February, how many more opportunities, just a week and a day. But then I also look at March, April, June, July. And I go backwards and I figure out what I need to do in each of these months so that if my deadline is to launch my idea July 1st, I've started, this is a touchscreen, everybody. Sorry, new technology. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Hold on. See what happens? You have a lovely touchscreen and then you touch it. Okay, we're okay. So what you are going to do is to work backwards to say what milestones that you need to start to be able to do in your calendaring system. So that way it doesn't pass. And you also want to be realistic with your calendar. If there are birthdays, if there are a ton of birthdays in April or June, or if you know that there's a graduation of a friend or family member or a wedding or something major, build that into your calendaring system, so that as you're going through what you need to do for your idea, and this could also be for a business, you have plotted out realistically how much time and how much effort. With your idea that you have, you can say, I want to spend the next 3 weeks on my idea. And in the 3 weeks' time, I want to be able to figure out how much financing I need, figure out what my competition looks like, figure out everything that I need to know, but in 3 weeks' time, and then you work backwards from that. So the calendar is your friend. I have multiple calendars for different projects and different things that I'm working with, but I have them at my fingertips so that I can review them every morning to make sure that I am accomplishing my goals. You add in some wiggle room in case you're not able to do something, so that you don't feel as bad and you won't miss a milestone. So being really realistic with yourself as to what you can do within any time frame. I have calendars that go up to 2020 because I really want to make sure that I achieve the goals, because y'all, as y'all know, time goes by very quickly, and if it's not written down, sometimes it doesn't happen. So making sure that the calendar system is up to snuff. Also making sure, as you're developing your idea, you want to have a list of concrete resources that will help take you to the next level. What organizations exist? What people are around that are in my industry sector, whether it's an association that can provide me with information, whether it's a local ordinance or regulation or a policy that I need to know more about. I want to talk to this person and that person. There's an influencer in my industry sector. I want to make sure that I have their phone number on hand or their email on hand so I can get connected with them. What I've done is made a list of concrete resources that I think are extremely important when you're in the idea phase. That is the SBA. Your local library is amazing. The resources, usually when we do workshops at our local library, Arlington Public Library, there are like 10 or 20 business owners that are in there doing research on their industry sector. The library is free. You can use your library card, you can access data, you can access information, you can get the latest books. And this is also what I call low overhead. You don't have to pay for it. And the information in business is constantly changing, but sometimes to buy like a Washington Business Journal book of lists is cost prohibitive. The local library has the book of lists, and it lets you know who the influencers are in industry sectors. It's done by region, it's done by the nation. This is kind of information that you need as you're massaging your idea to execute. So make sure what you do as your step one is to start to pull together all of these key concrete resources. The SBA, bar none, the U.S. Small Business Administration has a plethora. SBA.gov, I have them highlighted on my website. I go to them for any question about launching or starting a business. All kinds of resources, all kinds of information. Census data. Census data is off the chain. We're about to go through another census taking. The census gives you a highlight of where the U.S. is in any given moment. How many of your target market is living within a geographical area? How much do they spend on X and Y and Z? All this information is extremely important as you're massaging your idea to make sure that it makes sense and that it's feasible. So I really encourage you, are there family members who are part of this industry sector? Do they have access to friends and family that are also in key industries and key sectors that can help you? Patent and Trade Office. If what you have is trademarkable or patentable, you want to make sure that you go on their website to see what that process is about. If you're creating a new widget that nobody has ever seen before and it's going to change the way business is done, you certainly want to visit the Patent and Trade Office. We're going to have workshops later on this spring on how do you go about patenting and getting trademarks for your intellectual property. But you also want to know what you can give a patent for and what you cannot, what makes what you're doing distinct and unusual. But also gathering this information and coming up with, this also behooves the point that you want to come up with a type of system where you where you have information so that it's in a folder type system that you can easily go back to, or have a binder which has different tabs with these information points that you can easily go to. One of the best business plans I've ever seen had the tabs. The gentleman had done his idea preliminary research, and then he had his business plan. And so when I could ask questions, he could easily find the information that he's looking for. What this does is it minimizes that overwhelming sense, and it gets you going towards a sense of purpose, towards an ability to be able to succeed in what it is that you're doing. So really getting all those cogs together is really, really important. When I talk about money, this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because you can never have enough money to do business. But I also believe that you shouldn't spend a lot of money until you're absolutely ready. What I mean by understanding your current financial situation is to really understand where you are at today. How much access do you have to cash on hand? How much liquidity do you have to be able to launch your idea? Where are you? Do you have access to investors? Are they friends and family? Has somebody said they really, really are impressed by your idea and they want to fund it? What does that mean? What access to cash do you have? When somebody says to me it's not going to cost them anything, that's always a red flag. Because if it's not going to cost you anything, then why aren't other people jumping to it? Business always costs. What are those costs? You want the low-hanging fruit, but you also want to understand exactly what this endeavor is going to cost you. You also want to know if you need funding or financing, who can you go to? Who is lending on February 20th, 2018? Who is able to lend in your particular area of expertise? Where are the investors? Is the investor yourself? You really want to be able to answer those questions. And that is part of bringing your idea to market, bringing your idea and creating a fabulous business is understanding what your access is. Do you have a rainy day fund? If all of a sudden you're awarded a contract and you're like, oh my gosh, this was just an idea and I talked to somebody and now I have it. Oh my gosh, what do I do next? You have to have money. You have to have cash. What are you going to do if you have to hire 5 people? Your idea can go amazingly well, and then it doesn't go amazingly well as you thought it was going amazingly well. So you want to make sure that you're really planning for that. So where's the money coming from? Making sure that you have enough. I always say have more than enough, just in case something were to happen. Because as with life, everything happens, and things happen that you don't plan for. What you want to do is minimize that risk with this idea. Minimize it as much as you can so that it remains fabulous and you don't have like sweat trickling from your brow and you're like, oh my God, oh my God. Okay, so that's step 1, making sure that you're organized. That also means making sure that you know where you are on any given day, what you have access to. Now, what I really beseech everybody to do is to write down all of your ideas. This is step 2, write down all of your ideas. If you have, and according to our poll, there were multiple ideas. And what I want you to get down to is 1, maybe 3, with a long-term strategy attached. We'll talk about it. So write it all down. There's nothing that's wrong. There's nothing that's right. You're brainstorming with yourself or with a partner or with a friend. You're taking multiple ideas and you're putting them all together. You also want to make sure, and I think people don't talk about this a lot, but your ideas, you should be passionate about it. You should feel great when you're thinking about it. And you should feel not only great today, but 5 months from now. Like, this is a hot idea. This is amazing. You should be up at 2 a.m. Oh my God, I'm up at 2 a.m. thinking about this wonderful idea, right? So, and what motivates you? Are you motivated by this idea? Is it complex? You want your idea to be complex, and maybe there's a strategy behind year 2, year 3, where you can take this idea and grow it over time, right? So you're just moving this idea along. Now, another key thing is you're brainstorming and you're writing down ideas and you're putting things down. You want to make sure that there's also a need for it in the market. Because you can have as much passion and much desire and you might think of stuff, but you also want to make sure that people want to buy it. I don't know if anybody understands, there were these fingerlings that were really popular at Christmas time for kids around the holiday season to buy for your child. This little monkey that is animated, and this is a family-owned toy company that had it, and they do these fingerlings, they're little monkeys that make sounds. And they had this great idea, and they have passion around automated things. And their passion and their desire to be able to automate these little animals, there was a huge need for the market, so much so that they sold out. And, around the world, Canada, the nation, everyone, it sold out. So it's really interesting to me that there was this huge need, but they had passion around it and they thought that others would too, and they could see that this would be a good thing in the toy market. And so it did really, really well. So making sure that there is a need for what your idea has beyond just your gut feeling, but knowing that others will want to buy and purchase it as well. And then how do you complement the ideas? If you have several, is there a common thread? Is there something that's linking them all together that makes a lot of sense so that it's a multi-pronged idea that is released over time, because the ideas all can complement one another. So from there, and this is where the rubber meets the road. You're going to want to rank your ideas. And I say that to me, like an easy part is taking all the ideas and writing them down. But now the rubber meets the road, and you have to be able to rank those ideas. Because I am here to tell you, you can't do them all. That's a lot. That's hard. That's a lot of hard work. What you want to do is find one, no more than 3 ideas that you will execute at any given time. And so what I'd say is to make 3 buckets, 3 different categories. And you can title them different things. For this purpose, I have bucket A, bucket B, and bucket C. And then I have a little trash can. I don't know if you guys see that icon. I have a little trash can at the bottom. Because if you have way too many ideas, you want to start to eliminate things that don't make sense. And then you can ask yourself the following 10 questions that I've developed, and you can score them so that the score equals 100. So there are 10 points each given to each of these questions. Are there opportunities in the industry sector? Do you have experience in this field? Are the regulations and policies, do they make it easier or harder to enter the market? How many influencers do you know are in this space? Do you have enough cash? And on and on and on. So you ask yourself these questions for the particular buckets, these different ideas, and then if you score 90 or above, it'll go in your A column. If you score 80 to 89, it's in the B column. If it's 70 to 79, it'll go in C. And anything below 79, you can literally put it in the trash can, but like with Apple products, it doesn't go away until you empty the trash can. But you can keep it there as a holding place and then concentrate on your A, your B, and your C areas. And I think you can, and I leave it to you because you know the sector that you're in. You know what some of the strengths and weaknesses that you have, and some of the questions that you made. They may be a little bit different, but at least this gives you a start. And if you score it a 58, like say cash is a 58, but your experience, you've been in this field for several years and you know many influencers and you have access to capital, then you could give yourself 90 or above. And then that way it weighs it out so that you'll have a system that kind of looks like this pendulum. And here it is. I'm going back, but everybody, I'm not going to touch the screen because that'll forward it. But this is our pendulum. So if you're in that kind of 8, 9, 10, it's green. If the idea is about 6 to a 7, it kind of gets on the yellow side. And then if your score goes to 0 to 10, that's a stop. That right there means put that one in the trash can, or maybe that one doesn't get ranked if it's in this red. Or maybe there are things that you can do that will help you to bring the idea back around. Have a partner. If you're low in one score area, say your partner is able to do X and Y, bring a person on to help so that will help strengthen the idea that you have. If it's not to have a partner, maybe it's to set up interviews and have mentors with people to help strengthen that score as you begin to take that idea and move it over the pendulum so that it is a great way to start. And then you get more like this. Remember that crying baby from a few slides before? Now you're determined. You've got the sand and you're ready to score and you're ready to move forward. You have now gone on to step 4, which is you've narrowed your idea down. And you've got 1 to 3 very executionable ideas. And you ask yourself the following, and I talked to this a bit at length, with those 1 to 3 ideas, it's going for that low-hanging fruit. It's making sure that you have the background and expertise. This is the caution. I spoke earlier about making sure that you have experience in what it is that you're doing. I firmly believe that that really helps to bring an idea to market quicker if you have the background and expertise in that area. We've worked with a number of people that have had ideas and they've never done any work in this particular area, but they'll bring other people on. They'll do something. They'll work in the industry until they gain the experience or certifications or what it is they need. And this is one stoplight that I would be very cautious about, is the background and expertise and understanding the market that you're going in. If you have a great idea, but you don't know, you'll want to do all the things that you can do to be an expert in that field. That will minimize your risk. And so one of the great ways that I would take these 1 to 3 ideas is I would do a SWOT analysis. I do this for a lot of the programs that I do. I do this analysis on a lot of the business plans that I've worked on. And I really do look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats for each idea that I do. To me, the strength is what you bring as an individual or what you bring to an organization. And a lot of this, strength within external as well as client relationships, these are the things that you bring to the table with your idea. Weaknesses are the aspects that detract from the value or that place you at a competitive disadvantage. Looking at one of the keystones that I always talk about also is you want to make sure that there is competition and that you have competitors. Why is this important? It's important because it really shows that there's a there with the market, that there is something there. If there are no competitors, then you have to overcompensate and you have to throw a lot of money at something to be able to get brand recognition, brand awareness, to make sure that your customers understand what it is that you're doing. If you're going into an existing market and there are very healthy competitors that are in the market and you're improving upon a piece of that idea, then that's where those sometimes where you can look at what they're doing and where those weaknesses that can be turned into opportunities are coming into. Opportunities are the reason that your business is likely to prosper, such as being able to expand a franchise into a new city, such as going into a foreign market, expanding a certain market. Where are the opportunities? And threats are things that are really beyond your control. These are things that are happening. Maybe it's a policy, maybe it's a regulation, maybe it's a competitor that's taking an idea that you've built and making it bigger and better themselves. So you really want to take that idea and do this matrix. And the next slide I kind of show you, if you could take a piece of paper and make almost like a tic-tac-toe board where you have your strengths, your weaknesses parallel at the top, your opportunities and threats at the bottom. That is extremely helpful. And then just place with your idea, place all the things that you could possibly think about. I think about everything and throw it on there. Think about things that you haven't thought about. Throw your ideas and thoughts on here, walk away, give it a night, and go back to it. Because many times, if you think overnight if you're thinking about something, then you give it overnight and you come back and say, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about this opportunity. Or, oh my gosh, this is a weakness that I have with this idea. And that way, as you do your SWOT analysis, it gives you a real clear view or picture of what the canvas looks like at any given time. And if you can find more strengths and weaknesses with an idea, you're on the pendulum for a positive result than the weaknesses and threats that are on the right side. So I definitely recommend for each of those ideas to go through and do a very detailed SWOT analysis. And at this time, remember before when we were brainstorming and you throw everything at it? Well, you're brainstorming here, but you also want to be quite realistic about what it is that you're talking about with this idea. You're throwing it all on there. Which leads us to the fifth step. At this point, all of those other ideas have led us to the best idea. We have narrowed it down. We have gone through and we've taken the time, and now we have our best foot forward. We have the fabulous business idea that we want to run with, and it is the one that is shining brightly amongst all the other dim bulbs. It's the one that you're like, you feel passion. Now, what I want to say, once you get to step 5, exhale. Exhale, be realistic at this point. Do you have what it takes to be able to execute that bright bulb, that wonderfully amazing, beautiful idea? Do you have what it takes? What are your personal strengths and weaknesses? You want to be able to exhale, you want to be able to let it all out, and to see the portrait for what it really means, and being realistic about this idea. If there was a weakness when you did your SWOT analysis about a policy regulation, it will, in working in local government, I can tell you, if there's a policy in place and you want to change a policy that a government has, whether it's on the federal, state, or local level, it will take you at least 3 to 4 years. And at the end of that time, you're not guaranteed that that policy or regulation will be favorable to you. And that takes a lot of dollars. It takes attorney's fees. It takes a lot of work. And so when I talk about low-hanging fruit and being able to execute, you want to make sure, and we'll get into policy and regulations a bit more, but you want to be realistic about that. You want to make sure that your idea is very simplistic on execution and that your return on investment is high and that it doesn't take a lot of hard climbing up a mountain to be able to achieve success. And I also want to empower you to open your mind. If multiple people are telling you the same thing, that's saying something, everybody. If you're hearing it and it's got a common theme, don't be like they're all crazy. I'm the one that's right. You might want to say, maybe they've got something there. You know, if everybody's telling me, and there's at some point where you have to execute this idea, you have to take it to that next level, which we're getting to. But in order to be able to do that, if you're starting to see themes around something, be very realistic about what that is and say, if everybody's telling me this, maybe there's something to it. Maybe I better go back and revisit and check this out. So this is here is a place card. I know there's a bad manicure in this on this photo, but please ignore that. Just look at the words and look at the beautiful trees and make sure as an entrepreneur that your mind is always open to different thoughts and different ways of being able to do things. Because a lot of people have started business. Which leads us to step 6, which is investigate and actually making time for the market research. So we have a lot of assumptions and ideas, and one of the thoughts is that our customers everybody's going to want what I have, and everybody's my target market, and I have enough money. But I'm here to say, really start. This is the phase when you start to begin to take that one idea that you have and start to analyze it. And, I actually have, like Watson and Sherlock Holmes, really doing that market research. Now, I call this the tsunami money. How much is it going to cost you? And as part of your market research, you want to know how much can I buy goods and services for? What is pricing for consultants in this particular area? If I have to hire somebody, how much is it going to cost me to hire? To me, this is the fun part because this is when you're putting more rubber to the road and you're figuring out what are all the extraneous costs for something, how much if I do really well and I need to hire people. And this is in a safe space because it's not like you're actually taking that tsunami money and spending it. You're actually trying to figure out what will your hard cost be? What will your soft cost be? How much is this going to cost at the end of the day? And you can do, like I love buckets, you can have an A, a B, and a C bucket with this. A bucket, if this idea is executed well and it doesn't cost me anything, what does that look like? If B, it's going to cost me $10,000 to launch, and these are where all these hard costs are, or plan C, I need $1 million in order to buy a franchise, and where am I going to get the money? Do your different buckets on different costs. Also, if make sure in that budget that you also look at paying yourself, or you're paying yourself at a certain point, because you want the business to be able to stand on its own. And so being able to look at this with your idea. This is where you also, as you're doing your market research, it's important to understand if there are any federal, state, or local ordinances, regulations, policies that could potentially prohibit what your fabulous idea is. This is when I say come to economic development, whether it's in Arlington, whether it's in Fairfax, D.C., Maryland. You talk to those policy regulators to make sure that this idea is launchable, to make sure that there are no regulations that could impact your market. Understand if you're doing things online and you need to do retail sales tax, what does that mean to your local government? Are there any hurdles in bringing it? If you're doing a new car, Uber and Lyft are disruptors in the transportation space, but are there any local regulations that would prohibit your transportation type company? If you're working with the elderly or you're working in construction, what are some of the certifications? What are some of the things that you need to have in place? Because at the end of the day, you can go back to these regulators and say, you know what, I didn't know that, and please forgive me, right? But in this point, what they can do is they can fine you. Oh, it's not good. They can fine you. They can send you a cease and desist letter. So when you're in idea phase and when you're beginning to plan your business activity, make sure that you understand. I can't emphasize this enough. If you have a retail store and you have 1,500 square feet and you want to do a carry-out restaurant with some eat-in, how much square footage do you need? How many parking spaces do you need? Are you close to metro? Child care is another one that's highly regulated, and you have to have outdoor space. So really understanding what you need to know about the regulatory and policy things that are going on. And this is something, target market is near and dear to my heart because, as you know, I was a marketing professional before coming to the county, and I love marketing, like market research, marketing stuff. And one of the things that you want to do is to be able to ask, where are your customers? Whether it's a government customer, if it's it's women who are between the ages of 18 to 34, who spend X amount of money, or who live in a particular 1/10 of a mile of Clarendon. Whatever that looks like, you have to start thinking about your main target market. It is not everybody. You see that bullseye? You have to narrow it down. It has to be very specific, because if it's everybody, then you're going to have to get advertising on from the Super Bowl. And that's very costly because that'll hit a wide majority of people. You're still going to miss some, but it does hit a wide majority of people. So in advertising, you want to be as specific as possible so you can go on platforms where your clients or your customers are. Are your clients and customers mainly on LinkedIn? Are they, how do you get in touch with them? How do you do events? How do you do activities, marketing activities? And how often do you do those activities? And so you want to go to the people that will most likely buy. Went back to that low-hanging fruit. I should make that my tagline. I should walk around, low-hanging fruit. Who are the people that are most likely to buy your product or service? It's not everybody. It's a very specific group. When we talk about if you're making a fingerling and your target market are children, your target market isn't children. It's the parents of the children who are actually making the buy. So you're going to want to be advertising where the parents are. Or if it's product placement and you're in a grocery store, you want to have it at the kid's eye level so that they can tug on their parent's leg to say, I see this. So really understand understanding who that target market is. Even if you think it's older adults, it might be more of their caretakers, people that are in their 40s and 50s versus people that are in their 80s. So really understanding that. Always think low-hanging fruit. And, one of the things that you can do with your idea phase, something very simple that will take time, is to go where your clients are and poll them. Ask them questions. Hey, what do you think about this concept or idea? Would you buy from this cart, or would you buy from this particular activity? What makes you excited? And that way you're getting direct information from your target market that makes whether or not your idea is feasible. If you go and Arlington has some of the most ridden subways, metro centers. I think of Boston. If you stand in Boston with a clipboard, making sure you have the right permission or wherever, and you're asking people as they exit the metro, just very simple, quick questions, 3 questions max. And if it's 75% of, say, 50 people polled said they like this X, or maybe they don't, then this gives you more solid indications, and it makes that idea more feasible as you go on in time, and it makes it much more executionable. So you want to be as specific as possible. I alluded to this. Specific as possible is age, location, gender, income level, education level, marital status, occupation, and ethnic background. The more information you have about your clientele, the majority of your target market, the more you can fine-tune and directly target them with a campaign, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, whether it's traditional advertising. You want to know these people inside and out. That's extremely, extremely important. And you also want to know the psychographics of people. You want to know their interests, their hobbies, their personalities, their attitudes. Are they happy people? You don't want to go to the metro and interview people and they be unhappy. I don't like that idea. That could skew your results. But you also want to understand their behaviors, because you want to understand what motivates them to buy. What motivates them to hire a consultant to do exercise? What motivates? What platforms are they in? What magazines do they subscribe to? And I'm here to say we have another webinar on this very topic, but we have psychographic databases that can help you to find individuals with key areas within a certain, it's all free, but that's another webinar, and we'll talk more about that. But you also want to understand the personal characteristics of your target market. Legal assistance. I highly recommend, even if you think you don't need an attorney, everybody needs a lawyer in these days and times. Some of the things that, if you're in an industry that is heavily regulated, there's no doubt. And before you start executing or working on your business plan, you want to identify a lawyer, attorney who is in that space, that understands your sector, that can help you either with agreements or contracts, partnership agreements if you're going in with a partner. When you're not making money, things are grand. Friends are friends, and you're thick and thin. You just we're so happy planning this. As soon as you start making money, I'm here to say things change. And so when you're in a happy space, you want to come to an agreement with any types of teaming arrangements, any type of partnership agreements, and that includes family. Okay, because family, friends, when things go bad or when things get really, really successful, things change in people's minds. So in the beginning, while it's still an idea, you want to make sure that you have an attorney talk about key things about your industry and what you're doing, so that I can't emphasize this enough. Now also remember and keep in mind that with attorneys, they are not your best friends. Do not use them as a psychologist, because they are going to be charging you per hour, okay? I'm here to tell you, what you want to do before you even meet with them is write down a plethora of questions that are geared towards the running of your business. If you have a lease, or if there's some type of negotiation that you're going through, you can meet, and there's a lot of pro bono legal clinics. There are law associations and different geographical areas that you can meet with them for a very nominal fee. And I'd say write down all the questions that you have that can help you. Also, you may want to have an attorney on retainer. That means that they know that you're serious. And when you have a retainer, you've come up with an agreement with the lawyer as to how much you could set aside. And that way, if you need to have a contract done in 24 hours or 48 hours, you have the retainer already in place. They know you. They understand your business. They'll more quickly turn things around. And I've heard that from a number of business owners in the past. So making sure that you have the legal assistance. Also, if you are currently a CPA or accountant, you're in a really good space. That means you don't have to worry. You've got your positives, your negatives, your profit and loss statement. You understand all of that. If numbers are not your thing, I highly recommend hiring an accountant or CPA early on, okay? Your records are very important. I think I was alluding, I don't know if I finished this thought, but and I was talking about this when we were talking about local government and local things. But here's the thing. You can't say I didn't know or understand. You have to be able to understand your spreadsheets, your financing, your accounting. You have to understand what's going on and what's coming out. You hire an accountant and then a CPA to walk you through that process. So if there are any red flags or if the IRS comes, you're indemnified and you're in the best position to be able to state, okay, this is where this information and this is why I did this. So having an accountant and CPA early on is great, and having somebody that can grow with you while you grow your idea, while you grow your business is very, very important, because at the end, your legal assistant as well as your attorney will save you money. And also knowing a good banker is also really, really good. So, all that said, this is either that red light at the end. You've narrowed down all your multiple ideas into one, and you may have a red light here which says stop, do not go forward, and you have that kind of sick gut feeling. If this is what you have, I would go back to step 2, and I'd start over again. Your red light is there, or I would tweak some of the things that you're doing. Do not invest in money or invest in your idea if there are any red flags or any red lights that you see, okay? Only move forward with your idea if you have a green light. All signs look good, everything looks great, you're at 90 or above and executing, you understand. At this point, you should really understand your market. You have your milestones, you're organized, you know who to go to. You surrounded yourself with a series of competent experts in different areas that you properly need to be able to help you execute your idea. When you come to this phase, you then have the green light to move forward and to go ahead and to start your business plan, which is another webinar that we have available online. It takes those ideas and a lot of the information, it actually helps you as you begin to formulate the business plan, because you have an idea of who your target market is at this point. You know who your competitors are at this point. You know who you need to surround yourself with. So you're just taking that information now and putting it all into your business plan. It also allows you to know what type of leader you are and what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how you overcome some of these things. So you're putting the best foot forward to be able to move ahead. With that, I'm now going to move you guys to our final poll, because we have come out to the end and it's about to launch. And where I'm going to ask you, do you now feel ready to narrow down? I think 67% of you said that you had a lot of ideas. Do you find this helpful for you in being able to narrow it down to one? And do you feel like you're at the point where you can take your idea and launch it into your business plan? I'm hoping that everybody is saying no. I'm seeing votes that are coming in as I'm speaking. And oh my gosh, right now I'm at 100%. Okay, somebody's still thinking about it. I'll let the poll go. But I want to thank you all, first of all, for being and spending your lunch hour with us. But also to let you know that we don't go away, that we're here for you to take you through the steps, whether it's through our mentorship, our counselors, some influencers that we know that are available to you. It's great to have ideas, but putting pen to paper and to be able to execute those ideas that's why I call it bringing the fabulous idea and making it a business. So with that, okay, most people are still thinking about it, but that's fine because now you've got the resource and you can go back through these slides. You can also review this webinar once we post it up and you've got this information. And so now we're ready for a little bit of Q&A. I'm going to go and throw it to my friend and colleague, Janine, that was on the line to see if we have any burning questions. Even out in Facebook land, if there's anybody that has any questions, let us know.
I don't have any questions on the webinar end, Tara, but I did want to make sure that everyone knew that to please visit our events calendar on arlingtoneconomicdevelopment.com so you can see more resources, workshops, webinars that we have for you guys to get your businesses up and launched once you are 100% ready to take that leap.
Yes, thank you. And there are a ton of workshops that we have that are coming up in the spring. We're so excited. We're going to be doing business planning, starting, marketing. We've got a lot that's in the hopper. Even in May, it's Small Business Month, so we'll be doing some networking and some other things. So we're really looking forward to seeing everybody out there. I think it'll be a very productive spring of 2018. I guess that's it, Janine? Okay, so let's wrap. Okay, great. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody for spending your hour with us and asking the questions and everything else. And we look forward to seeing you at a Biz Launch workshop, networking event in the very near future. Thank you, and have a fabulous day.